really freaking excited to talk about this because this is something that I think could possibly change everything for you. And I'm really, really excited to share my experience with it and just how it's helped me. Okay, so the thing I wanted to say is that first off, there is a difference between making money and manifesting money. So just wanted to sort of make a distinction here because I think a lot of the times when we think, oh, I'm going to manifest something, it makes you think like I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do something and that's going to cause me to, be able to get this end result that I want. But there's a huge difference between making money and manifesting money. So the difference being making is you actually have to do something specific. You're basically dealing with the how at that point of how you're going to do something versus manifesting is a completely different ballgame. Manifesting is not about the specific how. It's not about you figuring out the how and then taking action on that. It's just trusting that when you ask for something and you take action from that place that it will show up for you. So, and I've got a couple of really cool stories to share on how I've done that and continue to do that in my own life as well. So I'm going to walk you through the whole process of what you do to manifest money. And then if you have questions or anything, just let me know. Okay, so like I said, the first thing is not to mess with the hows. So this isn't a step in the process that I'm not even getting to that yet. The first is just don't mess with the how. So a lot of the times when we want money for something, and when I mean money, when I say money for something, I'm not talking about you start a blog or you start a website and you want to make money from it. That's a completely different thing. That's more like, how do I monetize my writing project? How do I make money from my writing project? This is how to manifest money for your project. So you need money to hire a designer, or you need money to hire an editor, or you need money to pay for whatever for the project. Well, how do you do the money for that? So get the how out of here. That's funny. I like that. Yeah, but exactly, because the how is never up to you. And if you surrender the how, that is the thing that really changes everything. Because when you get stuck in the how, you get stuck in, oh, well, I have to do this and this and this. And if I don't do these 5 things, then I won't get there because I didn't do these things. And it's like, no, it's not about the how specifically. It's about who you're being as you're taking the actions. And the specific actions aren't even really the thing that matters so much as the investment in the energy and the belief that you can have it. So the how is never up to you. You never want to worry about the hows. It's always about just what can you do from that place of I've already made it happen. So when I say manifest money for your writing project, what I'm talking about is money to actually invest in your writing project. So how do you, manifest the money that you need to pay your editor or to hire a designer or things like that. And really, really key thing, because I think if you get caught up in the how, it's very easy to think it's not working or it's not going to work, and that's not going to help you get what you want. The other thing is not needing something. So I think a lot of the times we tell ourselves, I need the money for this, I need the money for that. And while, yeah, you may actually need the money, that's not the mindset or the wording that you want to use around it, because needing money just manifests more needing money. So you don't want that. What you want is to say that you want money for something. So I want money to take this trip. I want money to pay an editor. I want money to, invest in my writing project, whatever. But come from that place of want and desire and not the place of needing. Because needing is like a lack mindset. It's like you're feeling like you're limited in some way. You lack something that you want or that you need. So it's a very definite feeling. And that feeling, as we've talked about in this, workshop for the last 30 days, is going to be the vibration that goes out there. And it's going to just bring back more of the needing money, needing whatever thing. Whereas if you say you want money, so I want money to hire an editor, I want money to go on this trip, then that's a much different feeling, because then it's coming from a place of intention and decision. You're deciding that you want money to pay for this thing. And so even if you might need the money, so like let's say you need the money to hire an editor, okay, but don't come from that place. Don't come from the place of I need the money. Even if you do, come from the place of I want the money to hire this editor. That was something that helped me a lot with just manifesting money for like my bills and stuff. So things that I didn't want to spend money on, but I obviously knew that I didn't have a choice. I had to pay my bills. And so that coming from that place of, okay, how can I look at my bill as an investment versus it's something that I have to pay or, that I need to pay. So looking at it from the perspective of, for example, let's say my internet bill. Okay, well, I don't want to pay my internet bill, but what do I get from having my internet? Well, I run my business fully online and I get to work for myself from home or from a coffee shop or from wherever the hell I want to work. So it's an investment in my freedom. It's an investment in me being able to have the business and the life that I want. So to me, that's worth now investing the money and paying that bill, because again, It's coming from a place of I'm intending it, I want this, versus, oh, I need to pay that bill. So again, just sort of trying to get you in the mindset of what it is to manifest money versus that needing money and wanting to make money even. So, because I think a lot of the times what people do is backwards. So they'll say, oh, I need money to pay for something. And the first thing they think of is, okay, well, how can I do that? Well, maybe I can take a loan, or I can do this, or I can do that. And yeah, maybe you can do those things, but that's not manifesting. That's basically deciding the how and then trying to figure out how to do it, which is always going to feel bad and always going to feel kind of icky because you're just like, I don't know how to do this. Versus manifesting, you're just, I trust that this is going to work out if I just take the action from that place and ask for what I want and believe it. I had a scarcity mindset and a lack mindset for such a long time. I'm pretty much my entire life. I still have it now. It's just that now I catch myself more and I'm able to shift and pivot to what do I want to decide? What do I want to choose? What do I want to feel? Versus coming from that lack mindset. So yeah, like I said, this is going to be slightly different training than what you've heard before, but I think that's also what's going to make it really powerful for you, is that you're going to see a whole new way of creating something that you want, especially money. I've been declaring that whatever I invest in my writing career, I receive my investment back doubled. Awesome. Yeah, that's a great belief to create. So my new one that I'm working on and have been working on for the last 60 days, and it's actually starting to show up now, is the more money I spend, the more money I make. And I always make more money than I spend. So that is the belief that I've been intending. I write it in my journal every day. I repeat it throughout the day, especially when I spend money on something. So if I have to go to the store and buy something, if I have to pay a bill, as I'm doing that, I always say to myself, the more money I spend, the more money I make, and I always make more money than I spend. And the crazy thing is it's starting to come true. So, well, not totally crazy, because I guess that's how it works, right? Is you create the belief and then it comes true. But I started to actually see it happening. So the last few times that I've been, going out to lunch or whatever, I'll make the money back before I even get home. Or like last night, I took my husband out to go get some drinks. We walked to this bar down the street and just had a couple of drinks, and I spent like $55. When I got home, I checked my email and discovered that I had made $600. So while we were spending $55, I was making $600 in the background automatically without doing anything. So it's just that whole belief. And so if your belief is that whatever you invest in your writing career, you receive back double, that's great, because eventually, as you keep telling yourself that, it's going to come true. Okay, so let me just go into this training now. So the first thing I want to tell you is a story. So this is how I discovered that you could manifest money from whatever you want. And for me, unfortunately, it was a lesson I learned from something that kind of sucked. But at the same time, it was a huge learning for me, because it allowed me to see that I do have power and that I can create whatever I want as long as I believe that and act from that place. So a couple of years ago, I believe it was 2014. So December 2014. A couple years ago now. My husband's grandfather had died, so we were in New York at the time, so we were living in New York, and his family lives in Texas. And we were, we kind of knew he was sick, and they weren't sure what was going to happen. And we had plans to come down in January of 2015 to just see everybody and, have our Christmas, because we didn't have Christmas with them that year. And so it was just like this big, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go down there in January, whatever. We had the idea in our head. Like, we didn't have a plan for it yet. We didn't really have the money yet. We just had this idea of like, okay, in January, we're going to go down and see everybody. But then we woke up, oh God, I think it was like 2 days before New Year's or a day before New Year's. I can't really remember the exact dates, but it was a couple of days before New Year's. And we found out that he had died. And so then we were like, well, shit, because now we need to get down to Texas now for the funeral, So it was kind of like a big change from the idea we had of, oh, in January sometime we'll make a trip down there and go see everybody. But now it was more immediate need. It was like, shit, we have to get down there for the funeral. It's happening this week. Like, we don't have a choice. We have to get down there. The problem was we had no money. We had no idea how we were going to pay for this trip, and we had no clue what we would do to get down there, anything. It was just sort of like, well, what do we do now? Like, literally, what do we do now? So sitting in bed that morning, he saw the text and the email saying that it had happened, and we were just sitting there like, well, what do we do? And so the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, we have to decide right now that we're going to go on this trip, that it's done. It's happening and we're going to go. So that's the first step, is deciding. You have to figure out what it is you want and then decide that it's done. And you also have to cut off all other possibilities. So, and these are, again, some of these steps are going to be things we've been talking about for the last 30 days, because that's exactly what it takes to manifest things. It's the same process over and over again, regardless of if it's money or something else. So we decided it was a done deal. We're going to do this. And then I said, we have to spend the rest of the day acting as if it's already done. So we have to do all the things we would do if it was already true. So that's exactly what we started doing. And like I said, I'm going to walk you through all of this. So it was like, all right, we got out of bed, and the first thing I said was, well, what would we be doing right now if it was already true? If we were going on this trip, if it was a done deal? And my husband was like, well, we would probably start packing. So I said, all right, let's do that. So we pulled out our suitcases, we started packing our bags, basically giving signs to the universe that says we're going on this trip. All right, so we started packing our bags, and then it was like, okay, well, what else will we do? And he was like, well, if we're going to drive down there in the car, we're going to have to get the car looked at, because we knew there was something mechanically wrong with it, and obviously we couldn't drive it 1,500 miles if there was something wrong with it. So he was like, well, acting as if we would probably take it to the car shop to get looked at. So I was like, okay, take it to the car shop. So he went over to the car shop. We have a friend who does car stuff, my dad's friend, for a long time. So we took it over there. Luckily, they had availability to look at it for us. Took it over there. So he went over there. I, in the meantime, canceled all the appointments that we had scheduled for the week, because obviously if we're not going to be in town, then we don't need the appointments. So I canceled all the appointments. We had a dinner reservation for New Year's Eve booked. We had a couple of other appointments just scattered throughout the week. So I canceled everything or rescheduled it for, the coming weeks, because obviously we would need to do it at some point. But I had to change it from that week because this week we weren't available anymore. We're going on a road trip to Texas. So even though at that point, the money hadn't showed up, we didn't actually know if we were going or not, but we just decided that it was done. And we didn't care to look at any other possibility. It was just, it's done. What would we do if it was done? Okay, we would cancel the appointments. We'd go get the car fixed. Okay, so he called me and he was like, hey, they said it's going to be like $250 to fix the car. And we didn't have $250. We didn't have any money, really. It was like barely anything. And so it was like, well, we got to fix the car, so what are we going to do? And he's like, well, I could go negative my bank account and pay for it, and then we just have to replace the money and pay the, overdraft fee. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Like, let's just do it. And yeah, that's really scary, because you're like, well, shit, what if the money didn't show up and you had all this extra debt and whatever? But it was, again, acting from that place. And it was like, okay, if we were fixing the car, we're fixing the car. So that's what we did. So he's like, all right, I'll pay for it on my card. Cool. Get the car fixed. I continued to do my thing. So packing, prepping my business stuff to get ready to go on the road. And within a 3-hour window of time between that waking up and deciding we were going to Texas and doing all those actions, I manifested $2,500 and we went on this road trip. And not only did we get to go on the road trip, but we took our friends out to dinner. We had a really good time. And then, of course, we were here for the funeral as well, which was something that was important to him. So now, yeah, the money showed up because of all these actions we were taking. And yeah, okay, there was things I did previously that led to that money showing up. So there was a client who I had talked to a couple of months back, and he was interested, but he was back and forth on whether or not he wanted to invest in himself and blah, blah, blah. But at that point, and he hadn't talked to me about it or anything, he just decided he wanted to sign up, and he just paid the invoice in full. I didn't even do anything. I'd sent him that months ago when we had first talked about working together. So it wasn't like I was expecting it. It wasn't like I knew, oh, we're going to get started this week. No, I had no clue. He just decided on his own that he wanted to sign up to work with me, and he paid the invoice in full, and that was it. So the money just showed up because I was doing all these little actions. And so that's when I realized, like, man, if you just really believe this stuff and you just take the action from that place, amazing things can happen. And again, looking at the fact that, yeah, like, I didn't actually do anything to make the money. So yeah, like, I did it previously, but I hadn't done it that day. Like, it's not like I said, how can I make the money right now? And I went out and started finding clients or like making emails and phone calls. I didn't do any of that stuff. I just did what I knew I'd be doing if I already had the money to go on this road trip, which was pack and fix my car and cancel appointments and things like that. So I was basically sending this message to the universe that said, hey, we're going to Texas this week, and that's it. It's a done deal. So that's really what it is when it comes to manifesting money, is just, what do you want? What can you do to show that you believe it's already done, that it's already happened, and act from that place? So going back to the actual specific steps here, number one being decide. So figure out what it is you want, decide that it's a done deal, cut off all other possibility. The only possibility is that you're going to manifest the money for your editor, period, done. Then the next step, act as if. Okay, so here's the hard part, because most people get to the first step, ask, decide it's done. That's an easy thing to do because you're just asking for something. I want the money for this. But then you have to act as if it's already done. And that's the harder part, because most people aren't willing to take those actions without knowing that the money is going to show up. And so just know that this is the hardest part in the process, is the acting as if. So if you already believed that you had the money for your editor, if you already knew the money would show up, it was a done deal, what would you do? Well, number one, you'd probably go find your editor. So you'd probably go out there, research editors. You would probably interview some editors, talk to some people, find out what it would cost. Look at, is this person the best for my genre? Do they have the information that I need? and really start doing the research and the legwork that you would do if you already had the money and knew you were investing in this editor. Then you might find the editor, you might send them an email and talk to them about what's your availability, how much do you charge, how long is the time frame, and asking questions and doing the things you would do if the money was already there. And then just continuing to act from that place. Okay, well, if you already had the money for the editor, you would have your manuscript finished and ready to go to the editor, so you would probably want to make sure your manuscript was ready so that when the money shows up, you can go right to the editor with it. So you don't want to have your manuscript just sitting there and you're not doing anything with it because you're afraid you're not going to make the money for the editor. No. You believe that it's done, you're going to take action from that place. You're going to finish the manuscript, you're going to get it finalized, and you're going to get ready to go to the editor. You're going to do all the little things you would do if it was already true, if you already had the money. And then through doing those actions and believing and continuing to reinforce that this is a done deal, the money will show up. Now, how it shows up, I can't tell you because it's not up to us. We don't get to decide that. So I didn't decide I'm going to make money for this Texas trip by getting a new client. That was just what showed up for me, probably because that was the fastest way for the universe to bring the money to me. But there are tons of ways. I mean, millions of possibilities for how money can show up in your world. It's just that we don't see it that way because our minds are so limited around what's possible unless something has already happened to us before. So if you've never won the lottery, it's very hard to believe you could make money that way. However, you could make money that way. It's a definite possibility. Or there's a million other ways that money could come into your life. You could find money on the ground. Someone could donate it to you. Someone could ask to invest in your writing career. You could hire, a client could hire you. You could get somebody who asks to buy something from you. I mean, there's a million things you could do, and I can't even think of all of them, obviously, because there's a million possibilities. So it's not about figuring out the how specifically. It's the figuring out of the actions. What would you already do if it was already true? If you already had the money for the editor, if you had already hired the cover designer, what would you do? And that's what you do. That's the acting as if. Now, again, this is the hardest part because most people are not willing to risk putting their time, their money, their whatever into something when they don't know 100% sure that it's going to show up and come back to them. However, that's where that belief thing comes in. So if you're taking these actions as if, it's because you're choosing to believe that it is possible, that it will happen, and that there is no other option. So yeah, it was scary to spend that money on the car to fix it. And it was scary to cancel all my appointments that took me, weeks to finally get booked. But I just knew that if I didn't do those things, I would be showing the universe that I didn't believe the money would show up. And that's why I knew I had to do that. So another example was last December. I don't know why I do everything in December. Actually, I think it was November. So I went on the trip in December. But in December, I was going to Aspen for a weekend retreat/workshop for this, it was called the 100K workshop. So basically, it was this group that teaches you how to launch a 100K product and all these things. And so I just wanted the connections and all of that. So I decided to join this workshop. And I had no idea how I was going to fly out to Aspen. I'm like, I don't have any money right now. Like at the time, I had been investing in other stuff and I just didn't really know how I was going to afford this extra thing on top of it. But I just knew I had to be there. And I believed that I had to be there because I just believed that the idea and the program and all that stuff came to me at the right time. And it was meant to be something that I did. And so I just believed it. And I decided that, okay, I'm going to buy the plane ticket, even though at this point, I don't know for sure that I'm going to manifest the money for the workshop. I didn't know, but I just knew that if I invested in the plane ticket, that the money would have to show up for the workshop because I invested in the plane ticket. So I spent like $600 on a plane ticket, even though I knew I had bills to pay and I had other stuff I had to do, but I just trusted that if I spent that money, that it would come back to me and that it would happen. Now again, these are crazy actions to most people. Most people would see this shit and be like, you're insane. Like I would never spend that money on a plane ticket if I didn't know I was actually going somewhere. But again, that's me taking the action as if, because if I was already going to the workshop, if it was already a done deal, I would have a plane ticket to go to Aspen because that's where the workshop was. So it's just what are the little actions that you can take? Now, you don't have to do that big of an action. For me, that was the action that came to me. So that's the other thing with acting as if is when you get an inspired idea to do something, do it. Don't tell yourself, oh, I shouldn't do that. No, the idea came to you because the universe is trying to spark a how for you. It's trying to give you something to do that's going to reach that energy that's going to bring it back to you. So you can't just say you want something and then sit on your ass and do nothing. You have to actually want something and then be willing to go take the action to get it. Now, this isn't a take the action of I got to figure out how I'm going to do it. No, it's just if it was already done, what action would I take? And then as you start to do that, you'll get more inspired action. So like we started with packing. We're going to pack our bags. Okay. And then after that, I thought I should cancel our appointments. So then I did that. And he was like, oh, we should probably get the car fixed. So he went to do that. So these were just inspired ideas that came to us as we went through the day, acting as if it was already true that we were going to Texas. You know, me buying the plane ticket, acting as if I was going to Aspen. And I ended up making the money back that week for the plane ticket that I had spent. So I made the money back. Plus I made the money to invest in the workshop as well. So it all just came down to that willingness to act as if. And this, like I said, is the hardest step because most people don't want to take action like this. This is not something we're taught to believe. Like, this is not something we're raised to think. Like, we're raised to think, look at what's around you, and if you don't have the money now, you're not going to have the money. That's what we're taught to believe. But that's just a choice to keep believing that. And you could choose completely different beliefs based on what you want to see happen. And the more you do that, the more you're going to see it happen. And that's what's pretty freaking awesome about the whole acting as if thing. And you don't always have to do huge things. Like, if you don't have $600 to invest in a plane ticket, then don't do that action, but do something else to show that you believe it. Research the tickets. Find somebody to babysit your dog that week when you're going to be gone on the trip. Whatever, do the things you would do if it was already true from the place that you want to be, and do whatever you can do. So maybe investing the money in the plane ticket isn't the first action you can take because you don't have the money yet, but you can find the babysitter for the dog. You can, research plane tickets and start to get ready. You can pack your suitcase from now to say, yeah, I'm going on that trip in a couple of weeks, or whatever little actions you feel inspired to take. And the more that you do this, the more you're showing the universe, I believe this money is going to show up. And so, of course, it does, because that's the whole thing, is you're acting as if, and you believe that it's going to happen, so it can't not happen. And it may not happen immediately. It may not happen. I mean, for me, that was a pretty immediate manifestation that had never happened to me before. But I had never acted as if that powerfully before either. So I think it really just came down to that, was because we made that decision that we were going to Texas, and we took all the actions we would take if we already were going to Texas, that the money had to show up, because we were acting as if, and it was completely, out of our hands to see how it would happen, but we just knew that it was going to happen. My father used to say, in fact, in order to not put purchases on credit, if I don't have the money today, I won't have it a month from now. Yeah, see, that's just a limited belief. So that's something that actually frustrates me so much about people. So, like, for example, about maybe 6 months ago, my cousin posted on Facebook that she's taking her mom to Hawaii for her 60th birthday. So her mom's 60th birthday is in 2 years. 2 years now. 2 years. That means 24 months from when she posted that thing on Facebook. And she said, if anyone wants to come with us, let me know, because I'm going to get a head count so we can pay as a group, like, when they're ready to do that. And somebody commented, and this was a legit comment, someone commented, oh, I would love to, but we can't afford it. And when I saw that, it literally, I can't even explain what it did, but it set off this, just chain reaction anger in me, where I was thinking, are you fucking kidding me? You can't believe that in 2 years you could make the money to go on a trip to Hawaii? In 2 years? It's not like she's saying in 2 days or 2 weeks or even 2 months. 2 years. And this person was saying, oh, sorry, we can't afford it. But that's the way that we're taught to think. We're taught to think that we won't have the money, that it can't show up. But to me, that's like, oh my God, I have 30 days to come up with the money? Duh, no big deal. I can do that. No problem. For me, the scarier thing is oh, I only have a couple of days. So with the Texas trip, well, we knew we only had a few days. We had to decide now, because the funeral is happening when it's happening. There's nothing we can do to change that. So it's well, you either believe that it's possible and you take the action, or you don't. And then we would have ended up staying in New York, not being here for the funeral, and probably not getting to come down in January either, because we weren't acting as if. So it was that acting as if and trusting that it would be there. Same thing for me. I bought the plane ticket for my trip that was happening in December, and I bought it in November. Well, that was 30 days away. I just believed that in 30 days I would somehow make the money. I didn't know how, but I just believed that I would. And so I just took the action. So yeah, what your dad's saying is just, and again, it's not his fault. We are raised by people who are raised by people who are raised by people who are raised by people. And you have to think about what they were living in. So my mom was raised by someone who was brought up during the Depression, during the time when money was scarce, and everybody was penny pinching and saving for a rainy day and all these things. So she's being raised by somebody who's taught those beliefs. Well, that's what she's going to believe too, and she's going to teach those beliefs to me, because that's what she knows. So it's nobody's fault that we're taught this stuff. It's just, we have to wake up to the realization that that's not how the world really works. So we get to choose what we believe, what we think is going to happen, and just trust that it will. So in your dad's case, again, it's not his fault that that's what he was taught to believe, But he just decided to keep reinforcing that belief by saying things like, if I don't have it today, I won't have it a month from today. So it's a choice to decide that if I'm going to invest in something, the money will come back. It's not a big deal. And money is just energy, just like anything else in the world. So you put money out there and money comes back. So I have no idea that money last night that I made, the $600 that I wasn't expecting, I have no idea if that was from the acting as if it was from me with the new belief on the more I spend, the more I make, if it was the fact that I've been dropping dollars recently. I don't know what it was that brought it back to me. I just know that it came back to me because of all the things I've been doing. So it's a way of being. It's a way of operating a lifestyle. It's not, I'm going to do this once in a while, or I'm going to do this, just for this one thing. This is how I live my life now. I live my life from, I make this much money, I act as this person, etc. Even if it's not true yet. So it will be true because I'm continuing to act as if. I've gotten into debt because I use credit cards without faith. I believe if we practice as if, then the money will show up to pay off what I needed. Yeah, exactly. And really, I think the other thing is discriminating the source that money comes from. And this is something my client talks to me about a lot, is the idea of the how again. So we are always trying to control the how and say, I want to make money for this project, but it has to come from this way or this. It can't be. Well, the thing is, you don't get to decide. So maybe a credit card is the fastest way for you to get the money to pay for something. It's not to say that it's bad. So people just think debt is bad because we've been taught that debt is bad. But the thing is, it's only bad if you don't ever pay it. It's only bad if you don't believe that you're going to make the money back, because then you're energetically blocking yourself from making the money back. So it's a choice. And so the other thing is you have to go into it with how it feels for you. So if using a credit card just feels bad, like really, really bad, and you just can't get your mind around it, it feels really shitty, then you don't want to use the credit card, because all that's going to do is energetically project shitty feelings into what you're spending the money on, which you don't want. So you want to do it from the place of, great, this is great. So like last summer, I had a coach I wanted to work with. She's a total badass. She's very expensive. And I was like, I don't care. I want to work with her. I will figure it out. I had no idea how I'd pay to work with her. It was a $9,000 program. I was like, I don't have $9,000. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. But I just believed that I could. And so I contacted her and I told her I wanted to work with her. I told her to send me the information about the program, what was the payment plan, et cetera. And I just asked her for the information. And I continued to just say I was going to work with her. I was going to work with her. And I just reinforced that belief. Well, I ended up discovering that I was only like $800 away from paying off my PayPal loan. And if I paid that off, then I could get another loan for $5,000. And so I was like, well, there we go. There's the money right there to pay for my coach. So I spent the $800. I got the $5,000 loan, and then I paid $5,000 to the coach. And then I made payments for the next 2 months to pay for the rest of it. And I just believed that by doing that, the money would come back to me. And it did. And it paid, all the money that I needed to pay for the program came to me, and I paid for it. And I handled my living expenses, and I did all the other stuff I needed to do. So it's not like I was down and out by paying for something, that I wanted and was not paying for the other stuff. The money showed up for all of it. So it was just that willingness to accept the loan. Now, the loan might not have felt good for some people, and in that case, you don't want to do it. But for me, it felt great because I'm like, this is amazing. I can get my hands on $5,000 like tomorrow. This is awesome. So I was really excited to have the loan because I knew it's an easy loan to pay back. So they take 10% or whatever percent you choose off of every payment that you get. So it's not like you're paying back a ton of money at once. It's just every payment you pay 10%. So $70 payment, $7 goes to PayPal loan, and the rest goes to you. So it's like a very easy way to be a business owner and to get a loan for something. But again, it was just that how showed up for me. Now, that wasn't necessarily the how I would have preferred. I would have preferred for $5,000 cash to show up so I could have paid and not had to have a loan, but that's not what showed up for me. So I decided to just not discriminate and just accept the money that came to me because that's how it came at that period of time. And I invested in the coach. So again, now you don't have to do the stuff that I'm saying that I do. This is just what I do for my own self to feel good about the things I'm investing in and manifesting the money that I want for stuff. So it's all about what feels good to you. So you don't want to take action from a place of this feels bad, because if you do that, you're just energetically sending out this feels bad, and you don't want that. And then you're just going to worry about the debt and worry about the bills and all this stuff, and you don't want that. So that's why stay open. That's the next step, is just stay open. Just stay open to how the money can show up. Just take the action and trust that it will. And then also do the receiving things that we've been talking about. So we've been talking about all the things you can do to get money to come to you, or that you can bring more receiving into your life. So things like dropping dollars and donating things and trying things you've never tried before. And all of these things are just energetically putting out there what you want to bring back to you. So even though those things have nothing to do with money sometimes, it's still energetically bringing back money, because the whole thing is, again, it's just energy. It's an exchange of energy. That's what money is. That's what anything is. It's an energy change. So stay open to how it can happen, and be willing to take the inspired actions when you get them. So maybe you're sitting there and suddenly you think, oh, I should go and, check on that thing that I sent out a long time ago and never actually, did. Or like, oh, I wonder if I have any money in my savings account. Like, I didn't even check it in a while. Go check it. Like, you get these inspired ideas, take action. Don't just sit there and go, oh, I should check my savings account, and then go, do something else. Like, no, you get the idea, go do it. So like for me, when I was thinking about the coach, it was like, okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm just going to trust that it's going to happen and it's going to work out for me. And then I just was open. I said, I even said it, universe, I'm open to how this money can come to me. And right away, my first thought was, oh, I should see how much I have left on my PayPal loan, because if there's not a lot on there, I might be able to get another loan pretty soon. So I went to check, and now, like I said, I owed like $800. So I was like, oh, great, I have $800 right now. So I paid the loan off so I could get the $5,000 loan, and there you go. I used that money to pay for the coach. So that is what I did. I stayed open. I asked for what I wanted, and then I just believed that it would be possible for it to come to me. Now, the other step is trust, which we've been talking a lot about, but it's a trust factor, and the acting as if is a major trust factor. It's a major just sign of faith to the universe. I believe this is going to happen. I believe it's possible, and I believe that it's going to come back to me. The action, sorry, I think just froze. Someone called me. You take the action from that place, and you're taking the acting as if action and inspired actions from that place of trust, that trust that you know it's coming back to you. You know that more is going to show up. You know that when you ask for something and you take action on it, that the money is going to show up somehow for you to pay for it. It's all going to come down to that. And the first step is always going to be the easiest, asking. That's always the easiest step. We do that automatically, naturally, without even trying. It's the rest of the steps that we're not taught to do, and we're not taught to think this way. So it's very much being willing to not be normal. And I say that like, everybody else who thinks the way that we used to think, that's the normal way of doing things. We have to decide we don't live in the normal world. We live in the magical world where anything is possible when we decide that it is, when we act as if in faith. So that's the next step, is trusting. And then obviously the final step is receive. So that's when you actually receive the thing that you've been asking for, by taking the actions, by acting as if, by believing that it's possible, by trusting, and then by just staying open to all possibilities and not trying to close it off and say, the money can only come from this one place. So I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, the money can only come through my business and that's it. So if money comes to them from any other place, they won't use it, or they won't so for example, for me, I used to be this way too. So like I would ask for more money for something and the money would show up, but it would come through my husband. So like he would get a bunch of music gigs, or he would have something come through where he got some extra cash. And I was like, well, what the hell? I wanted to make the money. I wanted the money to come to me. It's like, no, shut up. The money came in and now you can use it to go do the thing you need to do. So it's like, rather than having an attitude and discriminating the source of it, well, it has to come through my husband, I don't like that. No, he got the money. He was willing to let me use it for whatever. So why not just use it instead of being like, oh no, I have to make it. It has to come to me. It has to come. That's the way that we stop ourselves and block ourselves from receiving the things we're asking for. So it may not always show up how you want, and the how is not up to you, like I said, but it will show up if you take the action and you just believe. So yeah, like I said, it's the same with anything. It doesn't matter if you're manifesting money for a writing project, for, a trip, for a coach you want to invest in, for anything. It works the exact same way. So many people are not willing to take that extra step. So many people are not willing to act in faith. They're not willing to do the things that they feel called to do because they're afraid, they're uncertain, they can't see the, clear, oh my gosh, is this going to work? Is it going to... So a lot of people will not do things or take action unless they know it's a sure thing. And by knowing it's a sure thing, I mean they actually know, like, okay, I know I'm going on this trip. The trip's already paid for, etc. Okay, so I know it's happening. Or for example, like I'm moving to Austin in 11 days. My apartment is already applied for. We've signed the lease. The apartment is coming available on the 7th. My pod is already scheduled. It's all being delivered. So I have faith now that I'm moving to Austin on the 7th. But all of the actions I took leading up to that point were faith actions, because up until that point, we had no idea. We had no idea where we were going to live. We just packed our shit in New York, put it in a pod, put the pod in storage, and we moved to Texas. So we're staying with my in-laws right now. And again, we acted as if we had no clue how we were going to get the money to move the pod down. We had no idea how we were going to find the apartment or pay for it or any of those things because it was up in the air. We had no clue. It was just, I mean, obviously we make an income. It's not like we're like, oh my God, we have no money. That's not what I mean. I make good money. But it's just when you have additional things to pay for when you're not expecting. So like, I don't normally make money every month to pay for a pod. Like that's a completely out of my normal realm experience of things that I would have to spend money on. But I knew I needed to spend the money on it because otherwise I can't get my stuff from New York to Texas. So it was like, okay, I'm manifesting the money for that. And so it was just asking the universe to send it to me. I need X amount of money by X date for X thing. I don't know how this is going to happen, but I just trust that it will. So that's actually what I say now when I feel like I have to have money for something. So it's like, okay, I knew I needed $1,769 to pay for my pod to move down here. And I knew we needed it to be done before, it was like, so the 7th and then 9 days before that, because they take 9 days to move it down from New York to Texas. So I was like, okay, so about a month and a half ago, I said out loud to the universe, hey universe, like I have to have, or I want to make, 1769 by X date. So I don't remember the date I said, but like, July 25th or something, to pay for my pod so that we can move our stuff to Austin. I have no clue how I'm going to make the money for this. So I'm open to possibilities, and I know that you're going to find a way for me. I'm going to designate this to you now and let you figure it out. And that's it. You just designate it to the universe. So it's literally just giving up that control. And it's scary at first, especially like I'm a control freak. I have a very hard time letting go of control, but I just had to know that that was the only way it was going to work, is if I just trusted that it would, and trusted that if I continue to take action from that place and continue to believe that it was going to happen, that it would. And then, of course, I'm actually asking for it. So I think that's another thing, is we believe, or we're taught to believe rather, that we can't ask for things from the universe. We can't put too many demands on it. We can't, or maybe you were raised to hear, not the universe, but God. So you can't ask God for money because that's bad. And you can't ask God to support you in that because, so my mom would tell me that all the time. Because I would say whenever I needed money for something, whenever I was panicking because I was afraid I couldn't pay for something, I would pray and ask for the universe, for God to show up with the money for me. And my mom would always say, you can't do that. You can't ask God for money. That's ridiculous. You can't always pray when you need money. And I said, well, why not? Like, you can pray when you want anything else. Why can't I pray when I want money? Like, what does the difference make between health and money? So you're praying, so it's okay to pray for health, but it's not okay to pray for money. Like, I didn't understand that. But that was what I was raised to believe, that you shouldn't do that. So for me, it was very scary to start designating or to delegate stuff to the universe, to say, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I want this, and I want it by this date, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, so I'm going to let go of control and stop trying to figure out how to do it, and I'm going to let the universe figure it out for me. And that's it, and I just let it go. Now I don't worry about it, and I don't constantly think about it. Oh my God, is it going to show up? Is it going to? No, just trust that it will. And this is a practice. So when I first started doing this stuff, I did not have this level of faith at all. And so of course, things didn't always work out the way I wanted them to. But now, as my faith has grown a lot more in asking for things and receiving them and actually believing that it's possible and taking the actions that I feel inspired to take, the more that that's been happening in my life, the more the stuff's actually been showing up, the more my level of faith has gone up. So it's a process, and it's a practice, and it's also a lifelong journey. So if you do this, the first time and it doesn't work, or it doesn't work the way you want it to, that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means that you didn't have the level of faith that you needed, or you didn't act as if enough, or, whatever. So someone in the group, and I don't remember who it was, I don't know if you're on the live stream, but hopefully you're watching the replay, was saying that they were trying to manifest a new bed. And so she was saying it hasn't happened yet. And so the things I asked, and I haven't gone back to look at her reply yet, but the things that I had asked were, okay, well, what are you doing to act as if you've already got the new bed? Have you gone to shop for the bed? Have you gone to lay on the beds at the store and try them all out? You said you knew which one you wanted, but have you actually gone physically to the store to try it out, to test it out? Have you talked to them about how they do payments? Do they offer a payment plan? Do they have a credit line? Have you figured out what you're going to do with your old bed? So are you going to donate it? Are you going to sell it? Are you going to throw it out because it's too old? Have you figured that out? Are you going to, what are you going to do? So it's looking at all these little actions of, if you're trying to manifest a bed, or if you want to manifest a bed, What actions do you need to take now to show the universe that you believe that new bed is coming, that you believe it's already done, that it's yours? Well, if you believed that that was true, you would probably figure out what you're going to do with the old mattress, and you would probably figure out which bed you want, and you would go to the store and you would try them all out, and you would, whatever. So again, it's just thinking about what you want and then thinking, okay, if it was already true, what would I be doing? So we talked about this from the identity of, if I was already the writer and author that I want to be, how would I be acting every day? What would I be doing? Well, it's the exact same thing here. It's just you're doing it to something very specific. Money for my editor, money for my book cover, versus just in general, my writing career. So that is what I have for you today. I could literally go on ranting about this forever because it's just like a topic I'm super passionate about now. But just the acting as if thing has changed my life so much in the last 2 years that I am so just super passionate about what's possible when you just know that you want something, ask for it, and then act as if it's already true. Now, again, I'm still learning because, again, it's a journey. This is not, oh, you become perfect at it and that's it, you're done. It's a journey. It's always, how can I get better at this? How can I ask for more? How can I believe more? How can I have a higher level of faith? How can I take more action to show that I believe it's going to happen? It's always an up-leveling process. It's always a just a constant, just how can I do better? How can I pivot more to be more in alignment with the thing that I'm asking for? So it's a never-ending thing. And like I said, it's a way of being and a lifestyle. So it's not, oh, I'm going to do this just this one time to pay for my editor and then I'm done. No, if you want to, yeah, I guess you could do that. But it's much better if you just incorporate it into your way of being. So now for me, like those things I was telling you guys about with the receiving, so like dropping dollars and donating stuff and writing out, statements of intention, all that stuff, like these are things that I now do every single day. So I actually have a stack of dollars in my wallet at all times that have the Post-its on them. So now when I go somewhere, if I remember, if I feel called, I just drop the dollar. It's not like I'm going out there, oh my God, I have to drop a bunch of dollars because I need to make money come back to me. No, it's not that, because that's almost like doing it in fear and in like oh my God, I have to do this because otherwise the money is not going to come back to me. No, it's just I go to the restaurant, I feel inspired, I pull a dollar out, I stick it under the thing. Or I'm at a bookstore and I feel inspired, I pull a dollar out and I stick it inside one of the books. And that's it. It's not like I'm intentionally going to the store just to drop the dollar. I'm living my life, and as I'm living my life and I get inspired to take an action, I just take the action. And for me, that's been the most powerful thing. And especially acting on the inspired ideas, or the divine downloads, like I call them. So when I get a divine download, I act on it. So this workshop was a total divine download. I had the idea. It scared me at first because I was like, oh my God, like, can I really do this? It's something I've wanted to do, but it's like scary. I've never done it before. But it was like, you know what? The idea came to me. I'm supposed to act on it because it came to me and I feel inspired by it. So that's what I did. I put the workshop together, I launched it, and now here we all are. So act as if, the most powerful thing. And really, if you just did that, it would be everything. Because that's really what it is. Like, yeah, you have to have belief and you have to have faith and all of that, but you can fake your way into the belief and into the faith by taking the action. So I had no idea what I would do after I quit my day job. No idea. I had no idea how I'd make money or anything like that. I just trusted that if I quit my job and I took the action that I'd been so scared to take, that it would work out. And that's exactly what happened. I took the leap in faith. Now, again, this might not be the best move for you. So I'm not telling you, go quit your job, go rack up credit card debt. I'm not saying any of that stuff at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying, think about for yourself, what are the inspired actions or the act as if things that you could be doing. So for me, the only action I could think of was that I had to quit my job. It was like, I've been trying to hustle on the side for a while. I've been trying to, do my projects on the side, but it just wasn't enough time. I didn't have enough attention and focus on it, and it just wasn't working the way I wanted it to, because I knew in my heart that I wanted to work for myself full time, and that was it. And so I took the leap, and I trusted that if I did that, the universe would show up and support me, and that's exactly what happened. So right after quitting my job, I put in my 2 weeks notice, and a few days later, I ended up finding out that I had a 401k account, which I totally forgot about, that had 12 grand in it. So I closed the account down. I took the tax hit. It was like a 20% tax hit because it was not retirement time. And I made like 9 grand or something. Took that, and that's what I used to live off of until I made money for my business finally. And that was it. I mean, it was taking the action and trusting that it would work. And I'm a little bit crazier than most people. So you probably don't want to do the things I do specifically. You can. Feel free. That would be awesome. But I'm a little bit crazy, and I definitely am a lot braver than most people. Not because I'm actually braver, but just because I'm unwilling to not have what I want. And that's really what it comes down to, is that, like, if I want something, it's it. Like, I will figure out a way to make it happen. I will do whatever acting as if things I need to do until I trust that it's going to show up. And again, you can fake your way into it. So it's like, I had no clue what I would do when I quit my job, but I just believed that if I faked my way into it, basically, if I just quit the job, pretended like I've got something lined up, I know what I'm doing, that the clarity would come to me. And that's exactly what happened. Was I quit the job, then that money showed up, and then I got the idea that I could clear that account out, and that would help me live until I made money. And so it was all of these little acting as if things that I faked my way into creating what I wanted. So it was just, they say, like, fake it till you make it. Well, this is kind of the same thing. It's like, okay, act as if, even if it's not true yet, and it will become true. So that's exactly what it is. And that's how you do it. So it's really that I'm willing to believe in myself enough to know that I will always be okay, that something will always come through, that I will, that it will just work itself out somehow. And so because I have that belief, that's what shows up for me. Okay, so like I said, I could rant on this forever because this is something I'm very passionate about, and that has really changed my life completely. So I'm a huge proponent of it. If you've ever watched The Secret, you'll hear all this stuff that I just talked about in that movie. He talks, the people they interview talk about it. Mike Dooley, if you've ever read his stuff, and if you haven't, I highly recommend you do. His stuff is amazing. Talks all about the same thing, acting as if. How can you act as if it's already true? What can you do right now from the place that you are? So it's not about, I have to invest $1,000 that I don't have in myself. No, that's not it. If you don't have $1,000 to invest, you don't invest $1,000. You do other things to show you believe it's going to happen, and then the money shows up from that. So it's not like you have to always spend money on something. You don't. But sometimes that is the inspired action. So for me, it was like, buy the plane ticket. Okay, I'm buying the plane ticket. Didn't really know if I should buy the plane ticket because I had other bills to pay and all this stuff, but I was just like, that's the inspired action I got. Buy the plane ticket. So that's what I did. And I've learned over the last few years to just act on the inspired ideas and take action when you get the divine downloads, because when you do, that's the best stuff. That's always the stuff that just is that connection from the universe. So, I say you can't just sit on your couch and manifest what you want. Well, you can't, because in order to receive from the universe, you have to energetically be out there doing something so the universe can reach you. Universe can't reach you when you're sitting on your couch talking about what you want, not doing anything. So you have to actually be out there doing something. And when you do that, even little tiny baby things, little baby step things, they don't have to be massive things. Go look for the editor. Go interview some people. Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not harming anything. You're not wasting anybody's time. You're just asking the question. You're trying to get the information so that you have an informed place that you can act from. It has a lot to do with trusting your gut too, and not second guessing everything. Yes, it does. And again, it's a process. This is not, I did not do this stuff. And yeah, I do second guess myself sometimes, but I just don't act on it. So if I do something and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should do this instead. No, I just take the deep breath and I don't do that thing I think I should have done instead. I just take the deep breath and go, I did what I need to do. It's totally fine. It's a process. It's a lifelong process. It's a practice. And it's something you have to implement a little at a time. So it's not about, forcing yourself into this crazy different lifestyle that you're not ready to live yet. No, it's baby steps. So now I'm ready to step into this new, author, writer who lives in Austin persona, which I'm very excited about. I've had a secret project going on for a while now, which is still a couple of months away from launching, but I'm freaking pumped about it. And I know all of it came out of this move to Austin, and it wouldn't have happened without it. And so I know when I'm ready to launch this thing, which my goal at this point is November 7th. That's the goal. Hold me to it. I'm really excited about it because I know this is the next level for me, and I know that I'm stepping into it. And of course, I have no idea what's going to happen when I do this, but I just trust that if I keep taking the inspired actions as they come to me, that, the dream life just going to keep unfolding. So that's it for me. That's all I have right now. Like I said, I could talk about this forever, so I could keep going, but I won't because it's probably been a very long live stream already. It's been almost an hour, so it has been a long live stream. So thank you for joining me. If you're watching this as a replay and you have questions or you want to make any comments, feel free to do that because I'm happy to share with you. I hope this has, at the very least, inspired you to see what is possible when you just act from the place of this is already done. It's a done deal. It's already happening. Because like I said, it is the most powerful thing you can do to take yourself from where you are right now and close the gap between that and where you want to be. It's absolutely the most powerful way to do it, is acting as if. So thank you for joining me. I'm so happy that you were here, and I'm so happy that you're open to receiving this information, because I think a lot of people would have already turned the video off, would have already said, oh, this chick's fucking crazy, like I'm not listening to this, I'm not going to do this. So thank you for being inspired. Thank you for being willing to be open to the information, because I know that if you act on this, it will change your life completely. And if you do, I would love to hear how it goes for you. So please share with us in the group. And I'll catch you guys next time.